As I thought of you all this morning standing outside the church, they're all rather even getting up early and coming to the church, and all with our different methods and different backgrounds. What really counts for most? It's really devotion, isn't it? It's that pull of the heart. We're not told to know God. We're told to love God, aren't we? Nobody knows God. And if we don't know if we're not able to love the invisible, well, we make do with what we can love, which is often quite ordinary, everyday, humdrum things. For some, it's another person or their family, if you're lucky enough to have someone to love. If not, then you love your dog, or you love your flowers, or love something. It's quite enough, isn't it? Again, thinking back to when I was a little boy at school, told that I should love Jesus, or love God. Well, I didn't, and I felt a great failure over this, because why should I love Jesus? He was just another man, wasn't he? And for me, men, I was rather a sort of a lonely child, brought up in the country, and I was always rather shy of people, and I rather ran away from people. I felt comfortable with animals and the open fields, and I hardly really knew what another little boy was until I was sent to boarding school at the age of 7, and I didn't like it at all. I never liked that sort of noisy, competitive company of other boys, and I always escaped when I could out to my beloved fields. So being told I had to love Jesus, who was just another man, was the last thing I wanted to love. And I'd rather a stern father, a very good father, but not a sort of nice, cuddly father I could, be close to, tell my secrets to. So how could I possibly love God the Father? That would just put me off him forever. So the last thing I could love was either Jesus or God, really. I found it much easier to love horses and cows and things I was familiar with, or I felt safe. It was only really much, much later in life that I began to understand a bit more. So I don't think it matters what you love, really, but it's almost an echo of my own father and me, Ed. Extraordinary, just the same. I think it's not uncommon, is it? Fathers so desperately want their sons to grow up as according to their image, don't they, their ideas. Yes, I always felt I was a disappointment to my father. I don't have an answer, dear, except to say that since Father's died, I'm closer to him than I've ever been. Because you see, we're in this life, what separates us? We're separated by what we were talking about yesterday, this thing called an ego, you see, which is this separate existence, this idea that I have a son called Ed or John. And my ambition for my son is that he grow up straight and true, a son worthy of his father. But see, we all see we only see like that, you see, we can't see any wider. We have our own focus, and that's what we see. You know, the world today is full about, everyone's talking now about, it's a one world. We have to take on board that there are other races besides, our own race. There are other countries in the world. There are other people think differently. There are other religions. There are all sorts of other people, different philosophies, different political ideas. And, it's very difficult to accept all this. Little by little we do, but particularly with our nearest and dearest, it's frightening to step out of our safe, what was the contemporary word, the comfort zone, isn't it? They say now, we write off the Buddhists as all queer, in funny robes, or singing funny things we don't understand. It's nothing like it was when I was young. I mean, you wouldn't believe the view we had of the world then, as in the days of the British Empire. You've all forgotten what the British Empire is now. We go around apologising for it, but I was brought up to think this was the sort of almost the pinnacle of civilization. The greatest blessing bestowed on mankind was the British Empire. But you see, and we can't change other people. At least a father will never be changed by his son, because he's in charge. He's first, isn't he? And you're out of him, so he'll never be changed by you, except very subtly. So, accept it, dear. Well, that's all I can say. Dear, I couldn't. I fought against this all my life. It made me very unhappy on very many occasions. Just like you, broke my heart over it. Why doesn't he love me? In fact, in my latest book, I actually write. I came back had a terrible row with Dad at one time. I was working in the family business. I left. I went off to South America. Dad cut me off my inheritance. I had a dreadful row with him. He practically disowned me. I went off to South America, and I remember just before I went, my sister looking at me across the table and hissing out like a snake, "I hate you." They were the last words I had with my sister before I went, echoing in my ears. Off I went to South America. I came back, convinced my dad didn't love me. Awful, isn't it? My heart goes out to you, Ed. And then the old man died eventually. And immediately a great weight was taken off my shoulders, and now in spirit, that ego, that's what happens when we die, you see. Well, I don't really know, of course I must be careful what I say now, but I feel there's much less of that between Dad and me now, so we love each other freely. That is natural. So be patient, my dear, is all I can say. Be patient with the old man. If this life was a bed of roses, would we ever search for anything better? Again, wise Russians say that tears wash the soul. You'd get an arm around your shoulders, but they wouldn't say cheer up. No. It always interested me as a farmer how whenever there was something wrong with an animal, it would nearly always go away by itself. You'd look at a flock of sheep or a herd of cows and you'd see one standing, apart from the herd. That's what most animals instinctively do when they're not feeling something's wrong. They go away by themselves. And I've always trusted that. I always felt that same instinct in myself, really, is not to seek help from other people, to go away by myself. I think that's where I found help, really, more than from other people. In fact, yes, I can say that quite categorically, really. I've never felt either inclined to ask for help from other people or go to them, really. Somehow it seems more natural to go to nature, perhaps. Perhaps that's why meditation has so naturally been for me the way of helping not only myself, but of helping the world, helping everything, really. It's in this surrender, the surrender to the great nothing. Into thy hands, O Lord. And again I think of the scripture, put not your trust in man, neither in any child of man. This is our great error. I feel that we look for human answers to things. I find it hard to believe that people believe in human answers, really, or they seem to pretend to do. But to me it's so evident that they don't really work and that people don't really know, especially the people who think they know. It doesn't always ring very true to me. God knows. Perhaps like you, Ed, it brings tears to my eyes. That's what it means to me. That's my answer, Phil. It just makes me cry. It's too big for words. I just, like a little boy, I remember going up into the woods there and just lying on the grass and sobbing my heart out. What else can you do? Something like that. We are criminals. Why? We are criminals because we have disobeyed God. We've left paradise. We've said, bye-bye, I know better. Like the prodigal son. Remember the story in the Bible of the prodigal son? Bye-bye, Dad, I'm off. Okay, off you go. That's the story of you and me. Cast down into this vale of tears to feed among the swine. We need to return, you see. And as we walk home, remember what happens, Alistair? The father comes running to meet us with open arms. Come back, my son, welcome home. My son who was dead, who was lost, who was dead is alive again. He was lost and is found. That's why I love to meditate. At its best, that's just what it is. And it was really following that completely life-shattering disappointment that occurred to me after this one kiss I've told you about, that really made me take on meditation as a lifesaver. And gradually, and I won't say I've even now find it 100%, what I lost in this world, I found in spirit. I found the reality, the real reality of this shadow world in spirit. And that's what gives me hope now. That our worldly disappointments are made whole in spirit. But it's taken a whole lifetime, Jack, a whole lifetime's work. So carry on, my dear. Carry on, my dear. That's what life is for, to go home. And when you go home, you'll find that you are working not only for yourself, but for the whole world, for the whole of creation. Everything from the worms to the poor worms being pecked to death by a bird, the whole thing will be redeemed and come home with you. This is the great work. We cannot comprehend. All we can do is to it's beyond comprehension. Comprehension is quite a small part of the mind, like that. Beyond comprehension, you come into realization, and realization is always now, here and now, you see. You have realized it to some extent this morning, just now. That's all you need. You won't forget it. That will lead you on, dear. You can't explain. This is just that's like that. Human knowledge is very limited, really. It's faith beyond. As I explained to you yesterday, faith is beyond that. Just think just consider the question, what should we have for lunch today? Well, you see how there's a thought comes into your mind. Well, and who knows, maybe in a half an hour it'll manifest. You'll do what's necessary to bring it into being. You see, thought is creative. Just take that in and consider it. Thought is creative. You think you're unhappy, you'll be unhappy. In the Bible story of the fall from paradise, you see, God says, after Adam eats the forbidden apple, "Cursed is the land for thy sake." There you are, that's nature. See, man has abandoned immortality. And he's driven out from paradise into this world of death, and has brought the world of death with him. That's why everything in nature dies. And all the animals are killing and eating each other, and everything lives under this sentence of death. That's what death is. In the real world, there is no death. No killing and eating. What for? Because everything's complete. No more appetites, no more desires, because there's no more lack. So it all starts with me. There's only one problem in the world, and that's me. I am the first of sinners. Sin is just that. Sin's that turning away from God, from the source. And who's done that? It's me. It's no good thinking it happened X thousand years ago with a chap called Adam, because, you see, it's me in this moment now. Every moment now, it's my decision to absent myself from the presence of God and be this lonely, miserable person called John Butler, struggling to make sense of this impossible world. You see? If only I'd just come to my senses like the prodigal son. And that's exactly the phrase from Scripture, by the way. He came to his senses. That's exactly what he did. Came back to his senses, feet on the floor, bottom on the chair, and realized his presence. Oh, Daddy, I'm home again.